Welcome,
Hello. Welcome,
welcome,
everyone.
welcome. All right. We are very happy to be doing this workshop today. I'd love to know in the chat if you are a member of TTN or are you just new and taking this workshop? Do you have a residency coming up? Tell us who you are in the chat and we will jump in together. So, how this is going to work is Kaylin and I have a bunch of content to share. But if you have any questions or a comment or a feeling, you're welcome to use the chat. We're going to be a small group today. So, we don't mind at all if you want to kind of raise your hand and unmute and ask a question. That is totally fine. We are going to record this session so that other members of the Thrive Together network can watch it afterwards. So just be aware of that. And we're gonna dive in, Caitlin.
Yeah, so today we're talking about how to make the most of an art residency. I am actually at an art residency right now in
How
Temecula,
perfect.
Pennsylvania. And we run a virtual art residency program that we've really designed to provide you with an art residency experience where you're getting community, but it's something you can do from your home. There are all sorts of kinds of residencies that provide so many different things and experiences. And I think as artists, sometimes it just feels like something that we have to do rather than something that maybe we actually want to do, right? And, we want to just kind of break apart some of the ways that a residency can be nourishing and great and wonderful. But of course, like anything else, we want you to do it with intention rather than just because you feel like capitalism is telling you it's another thing you should do, right?
The
So.
shoulds, man. The
All
shoulds.
the shoulds.
Yeah.
So, yes.
So there are lots of really great reasons to do an art residency. I do feel like it's very much like a buzzword. And if you say it too loud, your phone will hear you and then send you pictures of like chateaus in France that are all residencies all of a sudden and that they want $3,000 for you to go there. So if
That
you can
wouldn't
do
be so
that,
bad. I would do that.
I think it sounds awesome. And but it's something that Kayla and I always wanted was that experience no matter where you are and no matter what situation you're in. So the great things about residencies, Kaylin and I have both actually physically gone to them. And then we've done now the TTN art residency 6 times, maybe more.
Or more. Yeah.
Um, and I will say all of those experiences I made work. I did these things that we're going to talk about. I prioritized work, and we're really big on picking a specific project. So, my first residency I went away and I took so much stuff and like had all these different things I wanted to do. And during that experience, I thought there should be more education around going into a residency and
Mhm.
how like exactly what we're doing today, which is like how to get the most out of it. And we really emphasize in our residency is picking that project or a couple projects to have that focus because it can get very overwhelming and we all want to, get so much done and have all these ideas. So having that. Another like this could also be your project, which is experimenting or learning a new technique. Sometimes there's art residencies that you actually go. I remember I applied to one that was paper making because I was like, oh, I'd love to learn that skill. So that's something that can happen. Another one like Kaylin right now is really on an art residency, but you've also taken the second step of it's a very admin, writing, reflecting time for you, which I think is super valuable. You seem kind of on fire right now, Kaylin, with that.
I brought a big
Every
stack of books. I've gotten lots of stuff
every
done.
day I get an update. And it's like, will you read this? Will you look at this? I'm like, look at you, girl. When are you sleeping? Um, maybe it's finishing some work and we call it the final 5% on at Thrive is very much like how are we kind of taking those photos, finishing, varnishing work, whatever that looks like, is a huge thing. And sometimes we get kind of this backlog of like, we haven't done that final five. And maybe that's part of your residency to do a big series. is an awesome one. Connecting with other artists, that's huge with residencies. That's something we try to do with the Thrive virtual one is those check-ins are to meet your fellow residency artists. And sometimes it's to start a new project is huge. And we had a question in the chat. Can you expand on art admin and what that means? So when I will let Kaylin jump in on this as well, but when we say art admin, it's typically things that maybe writing your artist statement, updating that website, anything that is related to your art practice or business, but isn't the actual physical making of the work. That is kind of what we refer to as when we say art admin. It's kind of the stuff you avoid that you want to be in the studio and you don't want to do the other stuff. Some people
Yeah,
love it, but
so just to kind of summarize this slide, um, the why is really important, right? And the why is what can be different. The like what we see a residency as is really a structure in order to connect with your why, right? So you can be completing a project, starting a new body of work, experimenting, researching. There's lots of things that as artists we feel like we need to be doing and getting done, but you know, you can't just stuff all that in one residency. So identifying what's important to you right now, why a residency is good for that specific thing is really what we're trying to kind of hammer home here to start.
mhm. Yeah, and a big thing about a residency when you're physically going somewhere, it really takes you out of your normal day to day. And it kind of creates this boundary very clearly. It's a physical boundary to the people around you that you're gone. You exist somewhere else for this time. And it's something that we talk a lot about this when we're talking about the Thrive one, TTN, is because it's in typically your own home. Some people do it and they go somewhere to do it, but it's 6 weeks long. So a lot of it, what's so special about it is we're teaching you to do some of the stuff that you can do at any point. And that is telling your family, telling people around you that this time is for this specific making. We've seen a real ripple effect of that, of it's actually creating habits in your own life. It's like with exercise, it's like you can go to the boot camp and be signed up for the course, but then it's actually like on a day-to-day level, are you going to your walks and doing these things? So it's like we're kind of 6 weeks is here is your excuse, you're part of this project, but hopefully it ripples out beyond. And so just making sure that you're protecting that time of the residency. We talk a lot about putting up an autoresponder on your email is just sort of this very simple way of really claiming, I am focused on this other thing for 6 weeks. We're not saying don't answer your email, but we're just saying doing these little things of like, I might be slower on email. I'm focused on a residency, telling the people around you that using the word residency is really powerful because muggles don't know what it is and they just think it's really important as it is. And so they typically think that you're very fancy and that you've done this, amazing thing, which you have.
As you are.
And you are. So you are just bringing that home to them. But just remembering that you're going to have to put some things on pause to have this other experience happen. When we say to yes to something, we're saying no to something else. So always remembering that give and take. And it's something that we'll do next week in our commitment week for the residency is actually thinking about what are the things that we're not going to be able to accomplish during this 6 week time.
Yes. So protecting your time, thinking about ways that you're going to protect your time is just a pillar in how to make the most of an art residency. So next we wanted to talk about expectations because we really think that, again, sometimes a residency can feel like your one chance to accomplish 100 things. So sometimes our expectations are like way up here. And basically what you do when you take that mindset is you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. And a residency can be something when you have proper expectations that feels so satisfying and so fulfilling. But often that takes us changing our mindset a bit, like taking ourselves out of that like productivity, high expectation mindset to something more nourishing for you. So really trying to identify and think about things in a different way. Um, One way that I help myself curb my expectations, both with a residency, but with other things, is kind of thinking through things in different layers. So asking myself three questions, like what do I need to do, right? Like what is at the top of my priority list that I really need to get this thing done? For me, I'm here at a residency. What I need to get done is this piece that I have that's going in a show next month. I need to get that done. So that's like my top priority when I'm here. Second tier question, what do I want to do, right? Like I really want, I mean, I need to get that one done. I want to get this other little series started that I want to work on, right? And then below that is like, what would be a dream? If I was just like hyping myself up on coffee and going at it super hard, like it would be awesome to also get this kind of third tier of things done. And in that way, it's like you're seeing, okay, maybe I'm not going to just get this huge pile of things done, but I did get the things done that most needed my attention. And that's great, right? Because I participated in the residency in this way. Also, we're really big components of always addressing your humanness first, right? Rest really matters. And a lot of times residencies become this thing where you're just trying to get as much done as possible. But when you think of it, it's this set apart time that's supposed to feel boundaried and sacred and special. And we want you to think about ways that you can nourish yourself within that experience. So rest really matters, putting in time for reflection. All of those things are important to us too, and are ways that we always want to remind you to you know, not just be a busy artist, but be an artist who loves being an artist and, who's nourishing themselves in the process.
Also, it's when we talk about expectations, I always think about like we're doing all this, it's a lot of work to get yourself signed up to the residency and you're there and you've planned and it's like at the end with proper expectations or kind of realistic or whatever you want to call them, it's not a sexy word, realistic expectations. You can be proud of yourself and celebrate what you did. The worst thing is to do all of this work and then come out of it and be like, well, I got this piece done, but I didn't start my new series and I didn't do this. And it's like, wah, wah. It's like, it's supposed to be, I did an art residency and this happened. And where's that like magic piece? And I think it's easy to get caught up in the productivity of it all. Alex in the chat, I just wanted to comment, said something that was really interesting. So I made the mistake of burning myself out after the first week or two. So this time it's about pacing myself. So that's just a great thank you for that comment because that's kind of what we're speaking to is that looking at this as a full experience and having that like I think sometimes in my regular art practice I don't daydream enough and think enough and it's just I have this list going and I think there's magic in an art residency bubble that can be like I'm actually going to just sit and reflect or sleep in and then wake up and feel like see what I want to make and so creating this magic within it I think is really important to avoid that burnout and those and feeling happy about it at the end.
So another thing that we really think is important in making the most of art residencies is preparation. Um, Mostly because when you put some time into prepping before the residency, again, you're kind of setting yourself up to have a better experience because you're not like scattered and starting things and oh crap, I didn't order that thing. And, so we feel like it's an inclusive approach to when thinking about a residency is actually to build in time for you to prep, to think about your logistics, to think about what materials you're going to want and need. Um, it's important to like take stock of what you have and consider that, gather what you don't have, right? If you're going to a residency, pack in a way where you can access things and where you know where things are, where you're not, where did I put that hammer that I need to like build this whole thing? And it's like you have no idea where the hammer is. We just want you to save your time and your energy for actually working on your art because you are doing all this work to set up this system. And so making sure that you're being kind with yourself and giving yourself like a launching pad to prep your materials. Also, again, when you're traveling to a residency, something to think about is prepping your logistics. So like, do you know where you're going? Do you know how long it's gonna take you to get there, right? When I was driving here last week, like my partner and I realized, oh crap, the oil has not been changed in the car in like however many months, like, and you're gonna be driving a lot, like we should probably get that done. So just thinking through some of those things that are related to logistics, which if you're doing a residency at home, like the one that we facilitate, you can think about, am I going to take over the dining room for this residency? What will that involve? Where will my family eat if that's where I decide I'm going to do the residency, right? Thinking through space and materials and logistics can really help you have a residency that feels good.
Also doing that beforehand, that we're talking about a lot of this is kind of, to make the most out of it, getting those things organized before you start is just going to allow you to get those things done that you want to and feel like you got the most out of that time together. And prepping materials, a lot of that also comes down to being very clear on that project you want to do, what you're focusing your time on, and kind of just it's like setting yourself up for that success. In the comments, when you brought up the dining room table, Kaylin, another one was actual meal prep, which is so important, Sandra. We have talked about this a lot in TTN, is just, whether that means meal like groceries for you or having it ordered in. It also could mean like your family, if that's something that you do in your household. How do you just set yourself up and set the people up around you to support you in the best ways?
Yes,
Food, it all comes down to food. That's
always.
it.
Studio snacks.
Uh, exactly. So another thing to put in the mindset and, having getting the most out of it, it's kind of what we're referring to as this magic, but you might have a plan and that's great and you might completely execute that plan and feel great, but you also might discover and you might feel that magic of something else happening, and maybe a project that you thought was over is going to continue on, or maybe you set out with a project and you're like, I don't actually care about this. Coming into that with an ability to pivot is really important. And maybe we went into it with a very logistical mindset because we were in a certain place, and then when we're at the residency all those things have gone away, and going with that flow because that is the pure form of our art. And, productivity is not everything. Sometimes a residency is a chunk of time where we thought of new ideas and it led us on a totally different path
Mhm.
with our practice. And we get to then later self, we get to write that into our artist statement about the work. We get to pull that in as this experience that was forming and something we can talk about on podcasts when we're interviewed for this amazing work that we just no one can understand how we make because we're that artist. You know what I'm saying?
Um,
So having that open mind is important.
Yeah, and for me, a key word when having an open mind is generosity. Mostly, I mean with myself, like just being generous with myself and saying, it's okay that you didn't do XYZ. Like, you just spent an hour watching Netflix and relaxing, and like that was nourishing, right? Like that was part of what you needed. There's a time and a place to push yourself to get out of the bed and get out of the Netflix and chill stage, but um again, it's kind of like coming back to that why of like, why do you need this time? What is important to you? Connecting to who you are as a person as well and as an artist, we think is just really important. Which leads
Yeah,
us into
and leads perfectly into just remembering that your humanness matters and, making sure that you're eating during your residency and not um, in the manic mode of I'm here to do the thing. But yeah, your body makes your art. And are there routines that you should keep during this time? Is there something that you want to let go of to make this time kind of special? Maybe that's chores, which I totally get if you can. But how do you actually use a residency to get back to yourself, not just your art? And sometimes these are perfect breaks and sort of we kind of look at them too as these like blip in the matrix times of like life is happening on this level day to day, and a residency is supposed to bring this sort of like magic and this chunk of time, and care. And so making sure that you think through how you're caring for yourself is important for sure.
all
I like
right.
these
And
slide transitions,
I know.
Kaylin. Kind of just,
It's nice and soft.
yes, yes.
So another thing to think about in how to make the most of your residency is documenting it. Like we think documenting is so closely tied to reflection, right? It just helps you remember what you've done, how far you've come, like what you experienced, right? And you can do that with photos, videos, literally seeing, right? What you're doing through the lens of you documenting your residency experience. But we also are big believers in documenting with words. So if you participate in our 6-week residency program, we take you through like reflection prompts that we're doing every week. We created a studio journal so you can like use that, and it can be a blank sheet of paper, it can be post-it notes, it can be a journal, it can be whatever you want. But again, just the idea of like connecting with your inner self, who you are as an artist and a person. We just believe like documentation and reflection is a really big part of that, and it can help you have a great residency experience.
Yeah, for sure. And a question that just came up in the chat was just not having full time, the ability to do a residency in a full time way. That's exactly why we created the virtual residency, is the ability that you can set that goal to be whatever you want, or that project. So in the chat, Courtney says like she has 2 days a week. So maybe for the residency, you're just committed that those 2 days you're making work for 4 hours a day, or you're completing one thing. That's the nice thing about going away to residency is great, but also having this virtual access is so important because it kind of creates the ability to do it at any time. So, yes, you set the boundaries of what you're going to get done or not going to get done. We're just kind of the container to help you feel supported in doing that.
And I think this is our last point, maybe second to last, but we really believe that connection is such an important part of residency. Having a place where you are connecting with other artists. It could be that you're in a program where you're like, I'm here alone this week where I'm at my residency. So a big part of the connection that I'm experiencing is just like with myself, right? But I also scheduled a studio visit during this week. It's a virtual one, but I just kind of wanted that connection to be a part of this experience. When you or if you join the programs that we offer with our 6-week residency, um, kind of connecting with other artists is a big part of what you experience on the weekly Zoom call. We just, whether it's you go to a residency where other artists are physically there and you're getting that connection, or you're participating in a residency that like you designed yourself and you're just setting up a month where you're putting yourself in a residency, make connection somehow a part of that. Because a lot of times we just get in our heads, right, as artists, and it's really hard to like pull ourselves out of our own narratives that we're spinning about something. So kind of having other voices, having support and encouragement from other artists or art friends, is just important.
Mhm. Yes, and we definitely make that a huge part of our residency as well as celebrating. So having those check-in points, the worst is to like fight for this time and make this happen for yourself, and then at the end just it's over. Instead, let's celebrate, let's acknowledge the work that you put in. So we always include a halfway celebration, and that's just checking in with other artists with us, and then a final celebration which we encourage. It often includes baked goods of some kind or some experience that you want to have as a celebration. But a big one for us is celebrating with other people, so sharing the experience and the excitement of what's happening in your practice is so important. So it's something we do together, and we encourage you at any form of residency to make sure that you plan, yeah, how are you going to celebrate at the end of it?
All right.
Amazing.
Questions?
In the
Tips?
chat, I have dropped a link for if you want to join our residency. It starts next week on Tuesday. All the sessions are recorded. So if you can't make the live sessions, they're all there for you. And that's in the chat right now. Does anyone have any questions or comments? You can write it in the chat or you can unmute. Um, are there live check-ins during the art residency or through chat? I'm not on TTN yet. So every Tuesday from 10 o'clock Pacific,
1 p.m.
1
Eastern.
o'clock, thank you. We do a live session like this, and less of us talking, more of you getting in small groups with other artists. And so that's every Tuesday. There's 6 of them, and it's just a good check-in point, a good reminder to stay on track. And we do a journaling exercise. And we run this residency now, and then we do it in the new year as well. So, can you talk about what commitment week is? Hearing it called commitment week, it makes it very, it's a big word, Kaylin. I know.
Yeah, commitment week is just basically you're setting yourself up. So we talk about like how are you gonna, put some boundaries around your time? What is
What's
your
your
plan
project?
for your residency? What's your project? So it really is that first slide of like connecting to your why. It's helping you get into that mindset of like, why am I doing this? What am I committing to? Kind of, setting yourself up. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, we do a 2 week free trial in the network. So you can always come see us next week and see if it makes sense for you. And you get 2 weeks free on there. So, and it's $45 a month beyond that. So, yeah. I think there's another question here. You're
No,
already a TTM member, Natalie. You're in. Just normal. Everything's normal for you. You're
yes.
great. It's just your normal Tuesday. And yeah, we do the residencies, the full community. If you're deciding, if anyone, I mean, you're here, so it sounds like you guys want to do a residency, but we also say that if it's not the right season to do it, you can't just come to TTN and talk to other artists and like normal. It's just that we're running that program. So yeah. Oh, and I love the network. It's great. Thank you, Sandra. Where do I find the dates for the residency? Well, it starts next week on the 24th and it goes for 6 weeks. And as Kaylin and I literally let you all into this, we didn't put any information on here about the residency happening. So
Well, it
we
was
were
really
excited to
supposed to be
share.
a softer,
Yeah.
we're just wanting to talk to you generally about how to make the most of a residency. We also have a program if you want to join that starts next week, but our main goal was just let's talk about this and be soft with it.
Allison, if you want to put your email in this chat, I can send you a bit more information through email as well. And then this is the link if you want to go in, check it out, and get 2 weeks free. Kaylin, when does your residency end?
like mine where I'm here right now.
Yeah, where you're right now.
I'm gonna go home tomorrow. So I was
Okay.
I've been here since Saturday night.
Okay. And give us a little, do you feel all the feelings?
Well, you can get a lot of stuff done when you're not like stopping for car line school pickup and making people snacks and going down and doing your laundry and like I've been getting so much stuff done. So Alex, like to your point about even just pushing domestic work to weekends during the 6 weeks at a residency, I think is like a great strategy because again, it's just figuring out a way to like protect a little more time. For me, like I get studio time during the week, but I don't always protect it. And I think that's what the residency does so well. Like the virtual residency experience is like we know that you guys know how to get stuff done, but sometimes we just need a little bit of that magic bubble to like lean into and experience. And it just is such a nice flow for an artist to go in and out of these more like dedicated times to our practice. So that's kind of what we're trying to offer here.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're really excited for you all, and we hope whatever residency you do next, you get a lot out of it. We hope this helped,
Yes.
and thank you all for being here.
Coming.
Please email us if you have any questions, info@thrivetogethernetwork.com. And great to see everyone.
All right. Bye, friends. Thank
Have a
you.
good day.